Hello and welcome to Bella Vista Community Television. You're watching Bella Vista and Beyond, formerly known as Village Highlights. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jeff Warchow, and with me today is...
Tricia Ayers. Very nice to be with you today, Jeff.
It's nice to be with you again, Tricia. Appreciate your being here and helping me out with this.
And I like the new background and the new sign.
Lots of stuff going on here. We've got a fascinating program, very interesting, very informative, and we want you to stay with us. And our first guest is Tom Judson, the COO, Chief Operating Officer of the POA, Property Owners Association. Tom, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I know you've been out beating the bush to get out the vote.
Yes, I have been.
And tell us a little bit about your background. What brought you to Bella Vista, and what's your experience? Have you had any experience?
Well, I've been in the community business for 14 years. I've been in the golf business for almost 22, 23 years. In my day, I've managed 20 different golf courses, either as a general manager, a regional manager, or as a vice president. So I have extensive experience in the industry.
But you also bring some successes with you, I take it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. At my last location, which was Rumbling Bald Resort on Lake Lure in North Carolina, we were very successful. The property, with my assistance and the assistance of a very good board, we were able to really develop that property and modernize it and renovate it. Similar in some ways to when I took over at my last place 9 years ago. The buildings were similarly in a state of needing upgrading. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and not only golf, but you have experience in the restaurant business.
Yeah. So at my last location, we had multiple golf courses, multiple restaurants, spa, salon, tennis, lots of pools, vacation rental units. We did condo management.
Okay.
We even did home repair because it was kind of remotely located, and it was a service that we could do a good job at and save the property owners money, yet make a fair profit for the POA. And any time we were able to make money through the restaurants and through the golf and so forth, we were able to then take those funds and then plow them back into the POA to replace roofs and equipment and tractors and so forth. And the success we had allowed us to keep our assessments at that community artificially low.
Good segue. You mentioned assessments, and the ballots, I believe, are going out as we speak. Or
Tomorrow, actually. Tomorrow they're sending it when you sent out.
What is different about this request for an assessment that hasn't been done in the past, perhaps?
Well, I kind of phrase it in somewhat of a humorous way. It's we're not going to the community like my kids come to me. Dad, I need more money. We've developed a detailed plan, a rejuvenation plan, that looks at every single piece of our infrastructure, every building, lake, golf course, roofs, equipment, everything, and making sure that over the next 5 years we can rejuvenate the community.
Okay. Great. I mean, I think that's a good point to make. Now, there are some things, people that have lived here and see what's some things going on. There are some projects that have been completed already that this assessment doesn't affect.
Correct.
And maybe you could just run through those real quick.
A few of the ones that have been already completed is the Branchwood Trail System, which we had the grand opening a few months ago, and it's a great 1.5 mile walk. While it was completed only a few months ago and I was here for it, I really had no involvement at all in it. I was there for the grand opening, but I had no involvement. Metfield was completed a few months ago also, so it has a fresher looking lobby, the restrooms look fresher and so forth. You don't have that tired look. Highlands was also renovated. That was completed prior to my arrival in January. And the gun range. Now the gun range is technically not 100% done. We're going to add a restroom facility down there and a service location where an employee can be there. That way when you want to go use the gun range, you don't have to go out to Branchwood to get the key. On busy times, we're going to have it staffed, and that way you can just go straight there, and if you need to use this facility. So we're going to upgrade that. There's been some upgrades to the facility already. We need to do some more.
Well, you're jumping into the fire here. You know, you haven't been here even a year yet, I don't think, and you're up against this POA vote. I think that there's a much better perception of what's going on with the vote this time, what you're going to do with the money, and maybe we can talk about some projects that are currently underway.
Absolutely.
But still not a part of the assessment, as I understand.
Correct. And you're correct. We're trying to take a different approach. Instead of just asking for more money, we're detailing a very transparent plan. This is what we're going to do with the funds. This is how we're going to renovate the community. But you're correct. We have a few projects currently underway that are not impacted neither positively nor negatively based on the outcome of the assessment program. The first one is Scottsdale, and I wore a brand new shirt with a brand new logo today on purpose. Now that's going to be opening up in October 6th. The clubhouse is going to be fantastic. It's going to be a Scottish-style pub, very small, intimate pub. And then the greens are fantastic. My wife and I, Allison, we walked the golf course on Sunday, and the greens look fantastic. They're really coming in great. And the bunkers are going to be really neat, really quite special, and something you probably, most golfers have not seen in this area.
Well, that'll be a big plus for the golfers.
Absolutely.
Got anything for anybody else that's underway?
Absolutely. Do you eat? Because
I do. As a
you
matter
do?
of fact.
Okay. All right. Well, if you eat, we're going to be opening up the yacht club, and we've renamed it Lake Point, and we're converting it where it'll have a restaurant of 100 people. That's the magic number if you want to be successful in the restaurant business. And the banquet facility, we're going to be opening up that. We're going to add a gazebo right next to the water. Where else in Northwest Arkansas can you get married right next to the water? And so we already have a dozen events under contract. Our first year projection was only 10. So we're very optimistic. We're working hand in hand with Cooper Chapel because they do 150 weddings per year, but they don't have a banquet facility. And they turn away a number of events also because they can only hold 150 weddings a lot for one location. And we're going to have a gazebo, a fantastic gazebo right next to the water.
And I understand there's also going to be a fishing dock on Loch
There's going to be a fishing dock. It'll be further to the left. We're going to take the old fish cleaning dock and move that out and extend it, and that way it'll be a really nice fishing environment. And I like that project quite a bit because it's a partnership with the Fly Tires. They're contributing $10,000 to the project, and the project would not have occurred if it was not for their contribution.
Okay, now you brought in Tommy Lee.
Correct.
To kind of focus or carry the flag on this project.
Correct.
And he also brings a lot of success with him.
Absolutely. So I've been in the food, in addition to the golf business, every single golf course I've ever managed has had a banquet facility or a restaurant, or in some cases multiple restaurants. So I've worked with probably 20 different food and beverage managers in my day. Tommy Lee, hands down, the best. Everybody else is here, and here's Michael Jordan, the best all time. And so we're very fortunate to have him here. And I'm very excited to have him as part of our team.
That's good. It was a real positive note. And these are projects that are not going to be affected by the assessment.
Correct.
They're already on the books.
We already have funds committed, and so we're moving forward with those projects.
What kind of projects then are going to be affected by the assessment, assuming it goes through here?
Correct. Well, and that's a good question because there's 4 possible outcomes. And so they both could pass because there's 2 separate questions,
right?
And I encourage you to vote yes on both. But 2 could pass, 1 could pass, the other could fail, the reverse, and then they could both fail. So we could have a total of 4 possible plan A, B, C, and D. Now we've already only developed plan A. We have more than enough time before the end of the year to develop plan B if we need to. But some of the projects that we're looking at is expanding Branchwood, upgrading those facilities. So when I go into Branchwood right now and I look at the lobby, I look at the restrooms, tired, very tired look. We don't have a multi-purpose room there, so we can't do fitness. Well, we do the fitness classes in the racquetball courts. That's not the best environment for a fitness class.
Let me just interject real quick here. The facility is tired, but the people who use it are also tired. I can vouch for that.
I'm going to say silent on that one and just not even go down that road. But we need a slightly larger building. So we can have silver and fit classes, we can have yoga classes, we can have birthday parties. We're looking at adding a amphitheater down there so we can have music events. At the grand opening we had 3 music events. They were all local and it was fantastic. Restroom facility, well, if you're going to have an amphitheater you need a restroom facility, so we're going to convert the old maintenance shop into a restroom facility. The playground equipment, 30 to 35 years old. It is seen better days.
Needs updating.
It needs updating. And expand the parking lot. We're running into parking problems. That's a good problem to have. You know, we have too many people that want to go to that facility. So that's the first one. The other one that I really like is we're looking at creating a beach on Lake Avalon.
I think that's an exciting project.
I think that's fantastic. I just want to caution you on your swimwear. I don't want to see anything from you. What we're doing is we're going through and we're testing the water there to make sure that there's no problems with the E. coli levels. There's been some beaches that have been opened at communities and then they had to close them temporarily because of the E. coli levels. We've had a state inspector come out and take a look at the location to make sure that it's a good environment. The worst thing that we want to have happen is to open up that facility and then have to shut it down right away. That would not be good.
I think that would be a big plus for the community. I think a lot of folks would use that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then some of the other projects are New Reardon. In my opinion, I now call it Old Reardon. Old Reardon has seen better days. Now the bones are strong, it's clean, it's well maintained, but it's tired, it's old, it needs to be renovated. If you go down to the Bentonville Community Center, they hit a home run on that one. We don't need quite as large or as grand a facility, but we definitely need something larger than what we have. That facility is 75,000 square feet. Reardon is 28,000 square feet. We're looking at about 40,000.
Oh, okay.
And then renovating the pool also, because that pool is, I think it's 40 years old.
Oh my.
You know, it's seen better days.
A lot of these facilities are like having a car with a couple 100,000 miles. I mean, you can do so much replacing and updating, but eventually it's all going to wear out.
Really good analogy. Yeah.
And Tom, where do we get information on the rejuvenation plan? For those of us who busy working, have families, I am one of those people who I get my information from Facebook. I'm
Very good.
not ashamed to say it, and it's not always and never really is accurate information. And people are on both sides are vehemently opposed to it or are so gung-ho. Where can we get a copy of this so we can actually look at the correct information?
So this plan
Yes.
is available on the POA's website. So that's
Okay.
bellavistapoa.com. It's a detailed plan. We have a great Q&A. So any questions that I've fielded over the time, I have a detailed answer. That way you can go to one location and get accurate information. We've also added something to our weekly e-blast, and we're calling it Bust That Myth. Because unfortunately, some of the information on Facebook and the rumors that we're hearing in the community are not accurate.
Right.
I want the property owners to make an informed decision. We can disagree on whether you should vote for or against, but I definitely want you to vote with an intelligent vote, good information.
You know, that's one of the things I've noticed personally, and I maybe I don't have a big picture on this, but most of the complaints that I've heard are pretty much one-issue complaints. You know, I don't golf, I don't want to support golfers, or I don't fish, I don't, you know. And they fail. I think this attitude is prevailing, and some of it's carryover from years ago, but I don't think people are giving it the big picture, the future, and I think that's what this vote is about.
We need to look into the future. What do we want to be in 5 years? And you're right, based upon your perspective. If you're a golfer, we're probably not spending enough money on them. If you're not a golfer, we're spending too much. If you're a fisherman or a fisher, then we're spending not enough or too much. And it's really perspective based upon your interests. We're a community of 30,000 people. So there's a little bit of something in this plan for everybody, of all age groups, of all interests. There's something in there for everybody. We developed this based upon the survey that was put out in 2012. plus community and committee input is how we came up with this plan. So there's something in here for you either to love or to unfortunately hate. But that's based upon perspective. And you have to be something for everybody. I think one of the challenges that I have is that some of the people say, well, I don't use the amenities at all. And that's a little, to me, it's, well, you move to an amenity-based community, I would think you would use the amenities, and we want you to use the amenities.
Tom, we're kind of running up on our allotted time here, but is there anything that you would like to mention before we have to change here?
Well, one point of confusion is in the past there was only one question. It would be $9 for improved and $3 for unimproved. It was a bound singular question. This time it's going to be two separate questions. We're giving our property owners options. So the first question will be $9 for improved and $3 for unimproved. But everybody votes for both questions. Okay, so that's according to our governing documents. So everybody votes on both. So I encourage you, when you receive your ballot, to get good information. Go to our website, get good information, ask questions, because I hold sessions, question and answer sessions. The next one is on September 13th at 10 a.m. at Reardon, and the next one is on September 27th at 6 p.m. at Reardon. Come, I'll answer any question that you pose to me, but I encourage everybody to vote yes.
Okay.
On both questions.
All right. Well, Tom, thank you again
Thank
for taking
you.
time
I
coming
appreciate
over. There's a lot of information here to absorb, and but we hope that if you have questions, you can get a hold of Tom or go to his coffee and question, I
Absolutely.
guess. Do you buy the coffee, by the way?
Absolutely.
Oh, what a
Right.
guy. What a guy.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think at this time we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back. So don't go away, please. Stay with us. Welcome back to Bella Vista and Beyond. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jeff Warchow, and with me is
Tricia Ayers.
who has our next guest all lined up, ready to go.
I do. Your guest was very interesting, and my guest is going to be very interesting too. My guest is Kent Martz, who is the managing editor of the Weekly Vista. Welcome, Kent.
Thank you.
I was really interested because when we arranged for you to come on, I just thought of you as the newspaper man. And then I went and did a little research, as I probably should, and saw all kinds of interesting things that you were involved with, not only with the newspaper, but I came across something to do with Hobbs State Park.
Right.
What have you been doing at Hobbs State Park?
About 20 years ago, a group of Bella Vistans formed Sugar Creek Astronomical Society, and which is an astronomy club. And we had meetings and did some outreach where we'd set up our telescopes, have star parties, and people come look. Well, when Hobbs got going good, they invited, somebody found out about us and invited us out there. And so we set up our telescopes one night, they publicized it, and 150 people showed up. And it has grown into, over the past, I guess it's been 6 years now, it has grown into the largest single event that they hold at Hobbs State Park. In July the 3rd, Saturday night, 4th of July weekend, fireworks shows going on all over. Nearly 200 people showed up, and it was cloudy. Knowing that they couldn't use the telescopes, they still came because we offer classes and they can see the telescopes. We've had as many as 350 people at one night. No parking along the highway and walking in. And the parks people continue to be amazed that it draws more people. I had the numbers, and I didn't bring them, but last year we had more than 2,000 people come to those classes and you view through our telescopes.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think
I think
people-
there's a natural human connection to the night sky that people have lost. When folks our age and older grew up, unless they grew up in a big city, they grew up seeing the stars. And you can't see those stars anymore, especially if you live in Springdale or Fayetteville or Rogers or Bentonville. The people in Bella Vista are lucky because they have darker skies, but unless you've been out to western Nebraska or up in the mountains of Colorado or West Texas, you don't realize how much the night sky has disappeared. It's not because those stars aren't there, It's because lights have become more and more prevalent, and that light shines up in the sky and causes the moisture in the sky to start glowing, and the faint stars disappear. And I think there's just this natural connection. They're amazed. They'll have birds and spiders and kayaking and all those things they do that are about the park, and they'll get people, but they don't get a building full of people like we produce. And they come from all over. They come from Bella Vista to Fort Smith to Harrison to over in Oklahoma. It really draws a big crowd, a very diverse crowd, from little kids to people our age.
I think you're right
old people.
with that, because I know that I worked on cruise ships for a number of years, and one of the most amazing things to do as a crew member was to go up to the highest deck at night when there's hardly any
And just
lights on
look
the
up.
ship, and just look up.
Right. And that's gone.
Yes.
You can see it here, you can see the Milky Way here, but if you live in anywhere really in the city limits of Bentonville, you can't see the Milky Way. It's not there. It's no relation to your life. And one of the big problems we see is people are interested in it. So what they do is they're at your favorite big box retailer of many varieties. We will not be specific. But all of them do this. They sell a telescope. And they say, well, I'm going to get a telescope and look at the sky. It's a crummy telescope with a bad wobbly mount and no fine controls. They cannot make the telescope. They can barely find the moon. And so they've got this thing that they think is a great telescope, and they can't find the moon, let alone, stars and nebula and galaxies, and planets. And it's just impossible to use, and so it gets chunked in the corner and goes away. For $100 more, they can get a usable, functional beginning telescope that will feed their desire to see the night sky. I wish I would have thought to give this to you. I have a video. 2 weeks ago, we were down on Dixon Street, and it was the Moon on Dixon. And this was another group I'm involved with, just got involved with, STEM Supporting Space and Science. And we had a big telescope, big portable telescope out. And this guy saw the moon. It was about a first quarter moon. And he had what I term a religious experience. He started crying, and there was this brick wall 5 feet away, and he sat down, and he just couldn't express himself, couldn't talk. He was overcome with emotion. And I see that happen, a couple of times a year. People who have never seen the moon through a good telescope, or seen Saturn, or seen Jupiter. You don't know which one it's going to be, but generally it's one of those three. Will cause people to have a visceral, emotional reaction, whether it's call it what you want, but it's really awesome to see. And I videotaped him over there. I got to pull my phone out and said, hey, can I record you? And he said, yeah. And we got video we just haven't put up yet on Facebook. But he was emotional. He was just overcome with emotion because he saw the moon.
So if people are interested in our viewing audience out there to get involved, what would be your suggestion?
The easiest way is to go on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, and search for Sugar Creek Astronomical Society and ask to join the page.
Okay.
You can see the page, but you can't interact with it. And on it, we have listed all of our upcoming events, star parties at Hobbs and any other things that we're doing. And there is one actually coming up in the village I'll talk about in just a minute. And like us on that page. That's by far the easiest way to do it, is to get on the Facebook page. It's a one-stop shop. We're abandoning our website because Facebook has become so ubiquitous, and it was a labor of keeping multiple things up, and we've just gone straight Facebook.
Yes.
The Facebook group has probably 400 members now. We've doubled in the last year. I think people are starting to catch on to it. Coming up at Metfield Pavilion,
Okay.
the library is having an astronomy night on September the 9th, Friday, September the 9th at 7:30 p.m. It's going to start at the Metfield Pavilion and go till 9:30 or 10 o'clock. I drove out there a couple of nights ago, and there's one street light that's going to interfere a little bit, but it's actually a pretty good dark site, with good clear skies, very few street lights interfering with the ability to look up. And, I don't know how many people are going to have the libraries publicizing it. We just publicize it here. There's going to be 5 or 6 telescopes out there. And that's the thing about these star parties, we call them, is you can come and we'll let you play with our telescopes unless there's a huge crowd.
So you don't have to come with your own telescope
No.
at all. You come out.
In fact, I hate to say it, bringing your telescope takes me away from my telescope. And if there's a crowd, it's hard to imagine having 10 telescopes lined up and 50 people or 30 people in line at every telescope. And as soon as they see my telescope, they go to the next telescope and get in line because it's looking at something else.
Right.
They go to the next telescope, and so you're continuously, and there's 300 people there, and if you give each one of them 1 minute of eyepiece time, that's 300 minutes. You're there, you can be there late night.
Yes.
If you've got little kids they're trying to see through, it can be a challenge to get everybody through all the telescopes. And so then somebody shows up, I really want to help them with their telescope, but that's not the time to do it. It's just too complicated. I don't think Metfield's going to be so big, so if somebody wants to bring it, and it's a small group, yeah, we'll get your telescope out and see if we can help you figure it out. It's, I've figured out a telescope is hard. Mm-hmm. Once you learn it, it's easy. It's like driving a car. If I hand you the keys to a car and you've never seen a car, other than in passing,
Yes.
you don't know how to start it. You don't know how to put it in drive and drive out of the driveway and down the street and stop, turn. Same with a telescope. You may know what it is, but you can't make it work. And it takes hanging out with somebody who lets you play with their telescope and use their telescope and then go make the investment, because it is an investment. I mean, you can spend as much money, like any other hobby, you can spend as much money as you want. And in fact, we have a couple of guys, there's a telescope out at Hobbs that was donated to us. That's a $30,000 research grade telescope that we use.
Oh, wow.
It's a big, nice, really nice telescope. It's a bass boat, and you can spend. It's a bass boat. I mean, for a guy who's bass fishing, it's a bass boat. But then you got to have a whole bunch of other stuff to make it work. So
Right.
it can be expensive. But you can also go out like I grew up. My dad's will turn 89 this year. He didn't buy a telescope for himself until he was in his late 60s. He always just used binoculars, and we'd go back when I was a kid growing up, and there'd be a meteor shower, and we'd go lay out in the backyard all night and watch meteors. We'd look at the planets through binoculars. You don't have to spend, you can literally get a pair of 10 by 50 binoculars for $40 and spend the rest of your life doing astronomy with an investment of that. But it takes a desire to learn what's up there, and it helps to have somebody help you get started.
Right. That's fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Can we switch gears a little bit?
If you wish.
Let's go back to the newspaper.
Okay.
One of the things I was reading, and I want to quote my notes here so I don't, that you won the Rabbit Dickerson Award in 2008.
Well,
What
that
is
was
that?
the Rabbit Arthur Dickinson Award is the highest. I'm talking about myself. Is the highest award that the Chamber of Commerce gives for community support, and they never really said. Well, I mean, the year after I won it, or it was awarded to me, it was given to Lynn Walton. Now, that was somewhat me announcing her as the winner. It's like I'm not on that plane. But through the years, and I was the editor of the Benton County Daily Record, which is merged into the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette, 3 years ago, something like that. Did a whole lot of stories about community development and just supporting growth and editorials, and I think that's why they chose me.
Right.
There was, and there was a lot of stories back in the 90s about substandard housing I did that had a whole lot of impact on what Bentonville looks like today. And a couple of people after that award mentioned that as what they remember the most about having some serious impact, because Bentonville did have a lot of substandard housing. There's a term that other people use that I won't use because it still might be libel. but you know, it was really bad. And you know, mobile homes, they had one working power outlet and they had daisy chained extension cords running from one room to the other,
Right.
and a hole the size of this table with a 2x6 going across it to walk through the living room. And you know, I started doing stories about that, and it got other reporters to start doing stories about that, and that affected some serious change. And of everything I've done, that probably had the most long-term impact on lots and lots of people. Now, there's part of me that realizes that people have to live somewhere, so they just move somewhere else to
Right.
substandard housing.
Yes, yes,
That's the downside to it.
yes.
You know, that's the downside to it.
Well, we are so fortunate to have you in Bella Vista, and everybody should buy the Weekly Vista because it does tell you what's going on in the community.
I appreciate you saying that. Every day I look on Facebook and think, if you would have just read the Weekly Vista last week, you would know that.
Right.
And I hear cameramen laughing, you know,
Yes.
because it's the truth. You know, they'll go on, somebody will go on and say, does anybody know what this is? Yes, there was a story on page 1 of the Weekly Vista
Right.
last week. You know, if you read every word in the newspaper every week, you're going to be very highly educated about what's going on in your community.
Right.
And you know, it's $49 a year. Yeah, that's $49 of beer or something you could buy. You know, how many golf rounds is it? 1.5? You know,
That's less than $1 a week.
it's less than $1 a week
Yes.
delivered to your house.
To know what's going on in your community.
Delivered Wednesday afternoon to your house to know
Yes.
what's going on in your community. A couple of weeks ago at the city council meeting, and some of you were there, a guy stood up and was shocked. He had just found out about the city council's efforts to regulate accessory buildings, and was just, and he by his own admission, he said he was behind the curve. But you know, just read the newspaper.
Read the newspaper. Yeah.
Just take the time to read the newspaper. It doesn't take that long, but you're going to be very knowledgeable about what's going on in your community.
Well, Kent, thank you so much for coming. I know you're on a deadline today.
Every day's a deadline,
Every
but
day's
this
a-
is a bad deadline.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
It's been fun, thank you.
Thank you.
That was interesting.
I've learned a lot today. I
Ken,
need to
thanks
come
for coming
back.
in. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
You have an announcement about a spaghetti dinner?
I do.
Go.
It's shameless promotion. As you know, I work for Village House Adult Day Program, and we have a spaghetti dinner coming up. I don't know whether the camera can get that. September 24th. It's a Saturday. We're serving at 5 and 6 p.m. Tickets are $7, or if you buy, I think 10 tickets, you get it for $50. You can call Village House 479-855-4449 to get tickets, or if you see me out around town, I will have tickets on me. But we surely would appreciate the community's help with that. This is our big fundraiser of the year, and you get to eat some amazing food.
He's got
There
it
we
over
go.
there.
Can I
Sorry.
get a pitch in for the next thing at Hobbs?
Sure, go.
October the 8th, 6:30 p.m., Hobbs State Park. There you go.
Got it.
What,
October the 8th,
Oh,
6:30.
okay, 6:30, 8 o'clock,
Hobbs
Hobbs
State
Park.
Park.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, for a little
Thank you.
astronomy,
Yes, for
Yes.
astronomy night.
not to be confused with astrology night.
You can confuse it with astrology, and many people do, but we will be happy to explain the scientific difference.
The difference.
Okay, Kent. On that note, I think we'll call it a program, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Don't run off with the mic. Sorry for the confusion.
People do, I'm sure. They just think, okay, so it's